Thank you so much, members of the press. Today we are gathered here as members of the Kenyan Peasants League and also joined by the students from the University of Nairobi. Today we are coming to address the issue of the banned chemical pesticides that are being still in use in Kenya, but they have been banned in the United Kingdom and in Europe. According to the Agricultural Association of Kenya, the volume of the chemical pesticides that are coming to this country rose by about 144% between the year 2015 to 2018. And some of these, 76% of these pesticides coming to Kenya are hazardous and contains toxic materials. So it means that with that volume of fertilizer chemical pesticides being used in Kenya, majority of Kenyans are exposed to health risks because most of the people who are using these chemical pesticides don't have protective gears and they're not well trained. And this is why, as the Kenyan Peasants League, we conducted a case study in 2 counties, that is Baringo and Migori, to assess the trend and use of the banned chemical pesticides and also the readiness of the Kenyan smallholder food producers to use organic pesticides. And based on the findings, we found out that there's a majority of Kenyans who are still using the banned chemical pesticides that have been banned in the UK or Europe, but are being imported into Kenya. So the question that we're asking is, if a chemical pesticide is banned in the UK, it means it has got health problems. It means that it can also affect Kenyans. Why is it that the Kenyan government is still allowing importation of these banned chemical pesticides that have been banned in Europe and in the UK, and they are bringing them to Kenya? So we are advising the government of Kenya, the NGOs, and the Kenyans at large, including the businesses and the companies that are importing these chemical pesticides, to stop immediately. And we're asking the Kenyan government to start investing in development and use of organic pesticides. Some of the pesticides that are still being used have been banned in the UK and Europe and being used in Kenya includes Bravo suspension concentrate, which has an active ingredient that can cause skin irritation and also irritation of the eyes. Overexposure may cause nose bleeding, skin rash, and also affects the kidneys. So you find that this Bravo has got those side effects. We're asking ourselves, how is it that the agencies that are supposed to regulate use of these chemical pesticides are still allowing them to be used in Kenya, yet they have been banned elsewhere? Does it mean that they want Kenyans to die? So those are the questions that we're asking. And when we went to the field to conduct case study, we asked farmers the effects that they were having. And some of the health side effects that the farmers were mentioning are in tandem with the scientific findings of the active ingredients of those pesticides that we have mentioned. Bravo suspension, we have got Thunder being produced by Bayer in Germany with a local agent called Bayer East Africa. We have got Bravo suspension concentrate manufactured in the UK by Syngenta, Yalding, and being marketed by Syngenta East Africa Limited. We have got Chlorotocapha 500, again manufactured by Sipcam UK and being distributed by Sipcam East Africa Limited. So there are so many, and we are wondering, is there somebody sleeping on their job? And that's why we are calling on the Kenyan government to immediately stop distribution of these pesticides. And we have a list of about 6 or 7 that we isolated that have been banned elsewhere and are still in use in Kenya. So as we said that, we also asked the farmers, because some farmers say they don't use chemical pesticides. And when we asked those farmers, what are you using as alternative? And the farmers mentioned neem tree, various parts of the neem tree, leaves, ash, maize cob, urine of rabbit and goats. And according to studies, neem has got over 250 compounds which are known for repelling insects and pests. We also have rabbit urine, which has got high concentration of nitrogen due to the policy and advocacy recommendation to the Kenyan government. And we know that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 under Article 43 assures every Kenyan the right to highest attainable standard of health, to have adequate food of acceptable quality, and to clean and safe water. In view of the scientific studies that have been done globally indicating that the chemical pesticides that have been banned in the UK and Europe and are still being used in Kenya can compromise the health of both Kenyans and the environment, including water. And that's why we're asking the Kenyan government to move with speed and take ethical and legal effects to ban the use of these chemicals that have been banned elsewhere, and immediately invest in research and support development of organic pesticides that will guarantee the health and safety of Kenyans. And again, Article 11 of the Constitution, the second one, obligates the state to recognize the role of science and indigenous technologies in development of a nation. So the Kenyan government needs to establish programs aimed at educating farmers, smallholder food producers, and consumers on the benefits of organic pesticides, and also support the farmers to produce organic pesticides that are safe, and also including investing on biological means of controlling pests. The government should support research, farmers' participatory research on various organic pesticides used by smallholder food producers with a view of producing them in large quantities to be able to meet the market demands. Third, the Kenyan government should support a study on the safety of all the chemical pesticides used in Kenya in a participatory manner and make the findings public. So we need a review by the Kenyan scientists of all the chemical pesticides in the market so that we can see which ones have got active ingredients that can cause health issues. And then the fourth, we ask the Kenyan government to ban all local agents like Syngenta East Africa, Bayer East Africa, who are distributing chemical pesticides that have been banned in their countries into Kenya. So the government should ban those companies and make them take responsibility of any health issues or side effects that Kenyans have been exposed due to the use of those banned chemical pesticides. And also the Kenyan government should develop strict and stringent regulations to stop importation of these banned chemical pesticides. Because the fact that these pesticides are coming to Kenya, it means that the regulations are weak, or somebody is sleeping on the job. So the government needs to ensure that we tighten the regulations to stop their importation. And lastly, we ask the Kenyan government to compel the UK government and some of the European countries to take action on those companies in UK that manufacture banned chemical pesticides in those countries and still distribute them in Kenya. Because it beats logic why a company based in the UK develops those chemical pesticides that have been banned in UK and exports them to Kenya. So in terms of the relationship between Kenya and UK, we want the Kenyan government to write to the UK government to close those companies and also to compensate the people who might have faced health effects due to the use of these banned chemical pesticides. Thank you so much.
Okay. My name is Lavenda Kirubo. I'm a student at the University of Nairobi, Faculty of Agriculture. We are gathered here today with the Kenyan Peasants League to talk to the government so that they stop this importation and use of these chemical pesticides that are being used in Kenya, because they're actually poisonous and they actually bring harm to our farmers and to our environment. We are hurting our biodiversity by using these chemicals. As students of the university, we would like to encourage the government to fund us to do research on these chemicals, on these pesticides, because we have the ability. We are capable, we are in a position to do the research and bring back credible results. We would like to also urge the government to consider the use of organic pesticide and organic inputs in the farm, as they have been seen to work before. We have proof that it works in parts of Kenya. We have proof that it has been working. Our grandparents used the organic pesticides and organic inputs. It never failed them once. Why do we have to begin using them now? Let's just go back to our way of using organic pesticides, organic input. Let's invest more in allowing biodiversity. Let's invest more in allowing nature to work in its own way. Let's not interfere with nature by using chemical input in our farm, because when we interfere with nature, we interfere with our own health, we interfere with the ecosystem. If we deal with these problems of using pesticide and whatnot, we're actually going to even deal with climate change. So we would like to urge the government to kindly listen to our pleas so that we can work together in this, because we're actually youth who are invested in agriculture and agroecology. And it's a new thing that's coming up, because initially we would just see people who are old, who are very grown. But now that we've come out and say we want to be part of agriculture, we want to have our food security back. We do not want, when we have drought, our country is starving. So we want the government to include us in these forums, to allow us air our opinions on how to bring food security. We do not have to depend on GMOs. We do not have to depend on organic pesticide. If we want to make, on chemical pesticide, if we want to use these inputs, why can't Kenyan scientists do the research for our GMOs? Why can't Kenyan scientists generate our own chemical pesticides? Why does it have to be from outside? Don't you have scientists in Kenya? We would really like the government to put this into consideration. Thank you.
Maybe the government has allowed the GMO in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And the GMO are safe to depend on these pesticides,
Mm-hmm.
chemicals. Maybe what are some of the effects we face in the near future?
With the GMOs. So these GMOs we're bringing into Kenya, they might work right now, but this seed, if no one has actually put it out there, this seed doesn't work forever. It's not like indigenous seed. You plant, harvest, and plant again. This seed has a lifespan. So if you plant it once, you can't use it again. Also, these GMOs we're using actually, you see, these genes they're putting into the seed to bring into Kenya, they've not done research. They'll just pick a gene from some, it might even be an animal, who knows? We're not involved in the research. But it might be a gene from an animal, might be a gene from anything they put into these crops and plants, which means in the near future, we're going to actually have to deal with diseases we can't solve. There's gene mutation. In the near future, we're going to have children and grandchildren who have features on their bodies that are not explainable, because whatever they're putting into our crops, they're not doing research on it. They're just dumping it in our country so that they can get money and funds. They're using us as their mole to do the research, which is not okay.